And welcome back. We are still making our way through the Zealousy tunnels, trying to control the Zealousy population. Have your Zealousy spayed or neutered. And I am still... Wow.
I cannot survive much longer! Once again, I am victorious.
Okay, are you guys done? Good. So, we're still on the objective of, well, it's an optional objective, but destroying Zealousy eggs so that they don't overpopulate the island. And the way to the next area is right here, actually. But also the last thing for the second objective is right here, so there's very little reason not to do this. I'm also still using Magneto to get extra XP to help people level faster. That should keep the Zealousy population down until we can find a more permanent solution. And as it turns out, the way to a more permanent solution is actually in that other area. But I'm going back for a couple things I missed, namely this comic book drop, which it's kind of hidden in plain sight. So if you're not like going over the entirety of an area, it's very easy to overlook stuff like that. But now we're entering the Queen's Lair. Obviously you're going to have...
This very much.
Me too, Colossus. Obviously you're going to have stronger things appearing here. But speaking about the more permanent solution to controlling the Zealousy, or at least their spread, is taking care of the queens, which is something we'll have to do.
So our master Zealot was correct. He knew that followers of Magneto would attempt to enter Genosha through these caves.
Who's Zealot?
He is the one true leader of Genosha, and he will depose the interloper, Magneto, and claim the throne of this island for his own.
Sounds like a real nice guy. I'm guessing you're his stooges.
We are the minions of Zealot, and we have been ordered to dispatch you.
I wouldn't have it any other way. Now, I mainly watched the X-Men cartoon and played X-Men video games, so I did not have any exposure to Zealot until I played this game the first time. I read some of the X-Men comics, but he didn't appear in any of them. So, this was a learning experience for me. For those who don't know, Zealot is a mutant who, he manipulates the Earth with his mind. And when I say the Earth, I mean soil, rock, stuff like that. He's an earthbender, basically. And the name Zealot...
You were less than formidable.
Indeed he is, Magneto. The name Zealot...
Yes, more power.
Can I get in a word, Magneto? So, the name Zealot, like, obviously, there's a certain connotation with that, as far as, like, fervently following a certain ideology. But in the comics, he pretty much does what he's doing here, which is trying to overthrow Magneto. And the funny thing about Zealot being here is that if you look up the comic timeline, Zealot is dead. He gets killed, and then Magneto, like, encases his body and shoots it into space. So, like, there's no worry about following X-Men canon with this game.
It appears my esteemed colleague Magneto is even more delusional than I thought. Don't you people realize you're following a madman?
Zealot? You joined Apocalypse?
Why should it surprise you? I've always been a vocal opponent of Magneto.
But you were on the ruling council for Genosha.
I do what I must for the good of Genosha. Magneto has gone too far with his lies and deceit. Apocalypse is here to correct that.
Magneto's not a liar.
What fools! You've fallen under his spell too. Don't you realize he seeks to weaken all mutants, to bend them to his own evil purposes?
No. Magneto established Genosha to protect mutants.
He seeks to make them depend on him, to look at him as some type of messiah. But I know the truth, and I will stop Magneto.
Apocalypse is worse than Magneto.
Granted. Apocalypse is ruthless, but I've been assured once he's acquired what he seeks, he will leave peacefully.
And you'll be left in charge of Genosha.
That was the agreement. So you see, in the end, Genosha will benefit.
Stand aside. We're going through that door.
A pity there's no discussing the matter rationally. I'm afraid I'll have to kill you all.
That's a Cersei queen. They must be looking to create new colonies. We have to stop her before she leaves the nest, or there will be even more Cersei to deal with. And thus we have another objective. Now, the Cersei queens won't be too terribly difficult to deal with. The only difficulty is going to be that you're going to have Zealot minions to deal with as well, and maybe some other Cersei along with it, but as you can see, the minions don't really have much going for them, so no problem. That's it for this trap. But let's keep an eye out for any other surprises that Zealot might have planned for us. And that will do it for this trap. As you can see, it's a dead end, so you need to backtrack. Easiest thing for me to do here is just have Colossus break it. Now, there is one thing I forgot. And, yep, this is the moment where I realized I forgot it. You may have seen it earlier, but there's something else in this room. There it is. It's another Danger Room disc. And this one has 2 courses on it, specifically triple hit and throw. And we will get back to those later. For now, though, you can keep proceeding through the nest. You're going to have plenty of these nightmare terrors to deal with.
Just no stopping me.
Energy resistance isn't really going to do anything, particularly for Colossus. Which, by the way, he's up to level 7 now. So, he's not at the same level as everybody else in the party, but he's finally at a comparable point where I'm not worried about constantly babysitting him. Now, there is something else in this room. There's an island over here which you can fly over to and grab this data disk. You can either fly to it, or there's another point on the other side of this area where you can construct a bridge to get over to it. So if you have someone like Iceman, or Jean Grey, or anyone with that kind of ability, you can also get to it. Oh, and I sort of glossed over it earlier, but there was a kind of awkward moment where Zealot was talking about Magneto, and I had Magneto as the active party member, so Magneto was responding about Magneto, which is a kind of awkward moment. But Magneto does have unique dialogue with Zealot,
Affirmative.
but it only happens right before the boss fight with Zealot. So, if he's your active guy, there could be some awkward moments before getting to that point. We are almost to that point, though, so it won't be long before we see a few extra lines from Zealot about Magneto to Magneto.
Ha! I enjoy this very much.
Me too, Colossus.
This is very good thing.
Indeed it is.
Still alive, eh? Very surprising. Very surprising indeed. But why continue? Don't you see the truth? Magneto is leading you to your destruction.
No, he's not. He wants to free Genosha from Apocalypse.
But don't you see? It doesn't need saving. Once control of Genosha is handed over to me, all mutants will live in peace and prosperity.
You're not the rightful leader of Genosha. Magneto is. The people will only follow him.
My, you can be rather thick-headed. Well, soon you won't be a bother to me or Apocalypse. Farewell, fools.
And with that, we will face the final Cersei Queen that we need for the objective. Now, the Cersei Queens can have a couple different abilities attached to them. The minions, not so much. One of the queens earlier had advanced genetics tied to it. This one has health regeneration. And the health actually does regenerate at a decent pace. That should be the last of the Cersei Queens. Now Genosha should be safe from these bugs infesting the island. Okay, let's move out, team. But keep an eye open for Zealot. He's still somewhere in these tunnels. And with that, we are entering the final portion of this level. And you can see the extraction point already on the map, which is a pretty good indicator that you're going to have either like an objective or a level change or a boss coming up next. So it's a good opportunity to top off everybody's stats. I'll add another point in leadership because experience. As for Jean Grey, I'm mainly sticking with the tactic of buffing up the most basic mutant power you have, because some of them become incredibly useful later on, particularly Iceman's Slow Beam. I really love taking advantage of that, because not just the amount of slowdown, but also the time of the slowdown increases with each level up. As for Colossus, we can beef up his Iron Fist, because it's still like going up in 30% increments, which is pretty good. And I'm going for kind of a glass cannon strat by just pushing his brawler stat up as much as I can.
What are you doing here, Magneto? Shouldn't you be sitting on a throne giving orders? It's not your style to do any of the dirty work.
Zealot, you have no idea the number of times I wanted to permanently silence your endless prattle during the Genosian Council meetings.
You can't silence me, Magneto. The people of Genosha know that I will lead them to a better tomorrow. They are done listening to your poisonous lies.
You? As the leader? The people of Genosha would sooner be ruled over by a chimpanzee. Face it, Zealot. You are barely able to garner enough votes to join the council.
But the number of people faithful to me have grown and become more vocal. They would follow me to the ends of the earth.
The few misguided Genosians who follow you only do so because you've promised them power and prestige once you've gained control.
How wrong you are, Magneto. And once Apocalypse has found what he wants, he will hand control of Genosha over to me. Then, you will see how the people love me.
Zealot, don't tell me you're starting to believe your own lies. That can be very dangerous.
You've insulted me for the last time, Magneto. I will destroy you.
And the fight begins. Now, Zealot has some abilities that make close combat pretty annoying. You've already seen him just uppercut Jean Grey out of the way. He's got this move, which goes in a radius around him at close range. And he's off screen now. God, I hate when he does that. So, fortunately, with the party makeup that I have here, I can have Colossus in close to kind of keep him distracted, / give him something to attack. And then I have Iceman, Jean Grey, and Magneto, who all have ranged abilities. So what I can do is just, one by one, cycle through all of them. Empty their bars, and just cycle to the next person. I really just need to make sure that I pay attention to health. Just make sure no one gets below, 40% or so. Now, there will come a point where I have to start using packs to replenish energy, but I went into this with a full complement of them, so that shouldn't be an issue. What is an issue is that Zealot refuses to get out from the corner behind this pillar. So I'm kind of trying to lure him out by getting all of the party on the opposite side of the map. There he goes. Now, something else you can do, I mean, I am hitting combos, but timing that with abilities like these, where it's just one shot and it's done,
If you insist.
the timing for that is really hard. So if you don't have a second player to help you out with that, don't rely on that happening too much. Something else you can do is just change the CPU to use mutant abilities more, and that'll cause it to use any ranged attacks that it has more, assuming that you tell it to use that specific attack. But as you can see, we're not having a whole lot of trouble with Zealot. It's more just annoying than anything else right now. Like, even with this little sliver of health that he has, he is going to make it last as agonizingly long as possible. There he goes. We'll have to talk to Mystique when we get back to the Sanctuary. As much as she enjoys schemes and deceptions, she probably knows all about Zealot. And with that, Zealot's defeated. We have the security codes to get into Genosha, and the entrance to Genosha is right in that other room. Well, the X that you see marks the computer that will open up the Genosha gates, but it goes right by the seawall, and things are not going so well for the seawall.
Quickly, get out of here. Apocalypse mined the seawall with bombs. If he detonates them, the entire city will flood.
Blink, can you teleport this woman to the Sanctuary?
You got it. Teleporting now.
Professor Xavier, we just heard Apocalypse has placed bombs on the seawall of Genosha.
This is most distressing. Meet with me at the Sanctuary, and we can discuss it in greater detail.
Well, who am I to disagree with that? Now, I could go into Genosha, but instead I'm going to backtrack slightly to this extraction point, so that for the next video, we'll just go into Genosha and then see the whole thing and do everything in one go. Or attempt to, at least.
I realize it's been a struggle getting into Genosha, but the stakes are suddenly much higher than any of us could have guessed.
Cut to the chase, Xavier.
Apocalypse has placed explosives on the sea wall as added insurance to keep the lower levels free from invaders.
But destroying that seawall would flood the entire city.
Apocalypse will stop at nothing to achieve his goals. Therefore, you must locate and destroy the bombs before they can be detonated. If you would like a full briefing on the seawall bombs, use the mission computer.
And I will. However, first I'm going to drop off some items in my stash, particularly the ones that are assigned to certain people. Like, only a specific character can use them, because a lot of them aren't at the level necessary to equip them yet. And sell off some loose inventory. Except, I made a mistake here. That being, I sold things that other people had equipped. It's very easy to miss that, because the indicator is just text at the bottom saying, "Warn," and then name. But fortunately, with the exception of Colossus, I was able to get them better equipment anyway, so sort of worked out in the end.
You did well battling your way through the Circe tunnels and defeating Zealot, but now a much bigger challenge awaits us.
The X-Men survived the worst you've thrown at us, so it's not like Apocalypse is gonna slow us down.
Hey, Bobby, why don't you just shut your yap?
Huh. Big and dumb. Ooh, what an unusual combination.
So you must be looking to die, huh?
Yeah, like that's gonna happen at the hands of some bulked-up steroid freak like you.
Do not trouble yourself, comrade. Allow me to deal with this Cossack.
You're certainly welcome to try, comrade. Heck, Snowboy here's even welcome to join in.
Gentlemen, this is not the time or place for your childish outbursts.
But he started it. Look, why do you always...
Robert, be quiet.
Yes, sir.
As I was saying, a much bigger challenge awaits us. Apocalypse has placed several bombs on the lower seawall of Genosha. Should we attempt to retake the city, he would detonate them.
Father, all of Genosha would flood. Thousands would drown.
And that is why we must be cautious. A team is needed to remove the charges before we venture further into Genosha. Let us proceed immediately.
And that's the full setup for the next mission, which we'll start doing in the next video. And yes, Iceman is horrible in terms of character in this game. So these are the two danger room scenarios that I got from the disc that I picked up in the Cersei tunnels, which means I'll be switching back to Gambit for these. And he's going to have a bunch of points that I need to assign, because I haven't been keeping up with leveling everybody. We'll max out card shuffle, and energy combat is bonus damage to non-power melee attacks, so I'm absolutely giving him that. 3 of them, in fact. And one quick piece of equipment, just to get him started. It's not really that important to equip him with anything right now.
The training course is activated.
But yeah, it's kind of weird in this game how they have danger room scenarios for like training stuff long after you would have like figured all of this out yourself if you didn't know it already.
Generating opponent.
And at this point, the time limits for the top prize, which is the Vibranium level, yes. So you get an extra piece of gear for that, but the time that they give you is pretty generous. So it's pretty easy to just earn all of the gear from these early training scenarios. And this next one is throwing. Again, there's not a whole lot to say about this one, except this is one point where the way that danger room scenarios end gets kind of goofy.
All objectives have been successfully achieved.
You complete the throw, but the enemy's just gone. It never doesn't look awkward. But that's going to do it for this video. Next time we will start entering Genosha, see what's up with the seawall, and just as an added bonus, here's Zealot's voice actor popping a pea.
They're done listening to your poisonous lies.